Hola, and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We talk everything animation here, including DuckTales, which we'll be talking about today. I'm your host, Bonilla, and I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And Steve Zec.
Who's got all the bad luck? No one but Della Duck.
Okay, well that's a start. And as Steve has already alluded to, we are talking about the specific episode, Whatever Happened to Della Duck? So, spoilers for that episode in this podcast. If you'd like to catch up on our previous DuckTales discussion, you can do that at overlyanimated.com. You can also subscribe to our DuckTales feeds at iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. You can also find our stuff on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. If you are looking for DuckTales stuff, you'll note that we have not talked about that show since December, since there have not been episodes since then. And 3 months later, here we are, finally talking about this lone episode released by Disney. A big one, admittedly, but it's a solo affair. And after that, we probably won't talk again about DuckTales until May. So this is our only chance to talk about it in this first quarter of the year. So yeah, we all watched the episode, right? And this has been something that's been a Della Duck specific episode is something that has been anticipated highly by DuckTales fans for a while. So we'll get our initial reactions first. Michelle, let's go to you first. How did you feel watching this episode?
I liked some things very much, and other things I did not care for. But I'd give it a solid B, on a scale. B's not bad. It's like 80%. That's good. That's okay.
All right. That's a beginning. Steve, let's go to you next. How did you feel watching this?
I'll give it a B+. It was an excellent episode. Very first episode, we don't see like no Webby or none of the triplets, pretty much. It's all Della all the time. This episode does show that she clearly is Donald's sister, because I tell you, the first act, that could easily have been a Donald Duck short. All the stuff that happened to her in that first half of the episode, all that bad luck she had. But it's great to get to know Della more. You guys noticed the theme, like she was humming? That was a theme from a DuckTales video game from 1989. Very famous theme song.
Okay, you're burning that trivia very quickly. Good job by you, but okay.
Yeah.
Steve's been waiting 3 months to burn the trivia, though, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, so but your initial take is that it's a B+ episode, but that you really enjoyed Della. Is that what I'm getting?
Yes.
At? Okay.
Yes, I enjoyed it.
Okay.
I can't wait for more. Can't wait to see her. I can't wait to see her and Gyro interact, given the impressing their relationship we got in this episode.
Yeah, we'll definitely be getting to the specifics of some of Della's stuff in this episode. But just my general thoughts here. I'm also in the place where I think that the idea of a Della episode maybe got me a little overhyped for something like this. I think it was a fine episode, probably not on DuckTales a top tier level that it's displayed in past episodes, but I think that Della is a fun character. Maybe there are things done with her character that aren't as interesting or as unique as one would hope. But I think there are definitely a lot of Della moments in this episode that are fun and reflect the whole DuckTales vibe. And as Steve mentions, it's reminiscent of Donald at times. Some other stuff she does is reminiscent of the other nephews. So you get all of that blended in here, and there's a lot of physical comedy and stuff. The ending and the themes going on are I think are what make this episode feel a little shaky to me, and I guess we'll get deeper into that. But I think at first a logical place to start, I guess that will wrap into the themes as well, is the character of Della specifically, right? because this is our first extended look at her. Prior to this, we only had in the Shadow War, the season 1 finale, we had like the final 10 seconds of her watching the TV and seeing her nephews having saved the day, and like she was working on her ship. So this episode is basically like an entire flashback of her crash and what she's been doing and all of the nephew's life up to where we are today, right?
We also got a glimpse of Della in the very last episode we did, the Christmas episode. So.
Oh, wait, yeah, we did, I guess.
Wait, do you remember what happened, Steve? Because I don't remember.
Was a flashback. Dewey goes back in time. Blue Shirt goes back in time.
Right! And, he spends time with her as, like, a kid about his age. Okay, that's true, yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah, this is our first look at adult Della in an extended form. So, how did you guys feel specifically about how she's presented, her personality, her goals in this episode? Steve, we'll go to you first. You already touched a little bit on it in the initial thoughts, but how do you feel about Della specifically?
Well, she's a trooper. She's a mean optimist, man. It takes so much to break her down because I would have given up a long time ago if I was in her position, given all the crap that happened to her.
Mm.
But yeah, and I do like though how she's never kind of loses her disposition no matter what, and how her optimism. I love though how she befriends those moon people. Like despite everything that happened, she's still not a bitter person. I don't know I know she's not related to her, but definitely has a little bit of Webby in her as well.
Yeah, we're kind of just using all the character traits that we've already seen used in the show on Della, or at least a lot of them are getting rolled up in here. Given that it is one character for a 22-minute stretch, so you got to give her a lot of like different personality tics. Michelle, how did you feel watching Della here?
So I think on the one hand, I really like Della's character in that, she can be kind of sarcastic. She's willing to, she ripped up the book that was going to help her build the ship out of frustration seeing Gyro's message. So simple, even Della could do it.
That's very Donald.
Yeah, that was like the most on the nose, Donald parallel there.
I loved it though. I like that she has this confidence, and she's she lost her leg and she just built a new robot leg, and she kind of takes it in stride. And like Steve was saying, she does kind of just keep rolling with the punches for an obscenely long time. And I kind of think if the Moonmite wasn't there and she didn't have this webcam to talk to, she probably would have gone insane, for real, because she would have had nothing else to talk to. So I like her spirit. I like how tenacious she is. I like that she's very, she can build things. Not only is she good at, the hand-to-hand stuff, but she is good at the building stuff, too. So, all that's good. But then, I don't know if I want to save this to, later, but the whole, getting back to my son's angle, and how, kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say, obsessive, but just, the whole, mom angle, really kind of, left a bad taste in my mouth. And we're gonna get into why, specifically, but that was kind of, an overarching thing that they really just nailed in a really big way in the very last 10 minutes. And I didn't really care for how it was kind of addressed, So yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just wondering, how does she know the genders of her
I don't know. They're in eggs. I know.
Maybe they had a really good doctor beforehand, listen into the eggs. I don't know.
and they closed the door to a potential comedy moment. Is when she gets back, she might think Webby's one of her kids. Kind of took that little comedic opportunity away.
Mm-hmm. But I will say we can begin to get into it, because I do think that's a large part of her character in this episode. So I think it like gets wrapped up with what Della is, because I, on the one hand, I'm in a similar boat where like I enjoy all the like manic parts of her, like the Donaldness of like ripping up the stuff and then like doing her own like all the obsessiveness of getting off the planet is great, and also like her snark towards the moon people as well as the moonmite.
Yeah.
Like that's all great and all, but like when you get down to everything being propelled by her desire to meet her kids, in a way, like I guess the problem with it is that the maternal instinct becomes so overriding that like it begins to feel like a cliche. I feel like DuckTales in the past, when it's done, because DuckTales overall has been themed around family, right? From the very first episode, it's dealing with the nephews not really knowing who their mother is and their difficulty relating to Scrooge. And later on, when we get to that episode with the Sun Chaser, and you have like the breakdown of the ties between the nephews and Scrooge, like that's a relationship that we don't get to see that often necessarily, like children and grandpa sort of. So like that feels unique in a way, and there's a lot of layers there. Whereas here it's very simply mother needs to get to kids. And that's it makes it feel like that's the lone thing propelling her. And you could say that makes sense because like she is a mom and she never got to see her kids, but it feels very one-dimensional if that makes any sense.
It definitely makes sense.
And plus she wouldn't be in this problem if she just would have had some patience. Like it's her own fault. She's in this situation.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess the part of the reason it seems strange is because she was willing to go on this dangerous mission right after her kids after she, hatched. I don't know, hatched, well, they're not like hatched, but like she disposed of their eggs from her body. You know what I mean? She laid them, there we go. Yeah, she laid children as eggs. So, I mean, why, if she's this obsessed with being a good mom and being around, and the whole song she sings is about, I'm gonna be with you every step of the way, why would she go on this dangerous mission as soon as she had them? Like, that doesn't add up. I don't think it doesn't really make sense to me. Like, if they want to make her motherhood angle such a big part of her character now, like, why did she leave? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
The one thing you could have done, maybe I'm not sure it would fix it, but how about give her a different motivation to go on this ship? Maybe she wanted to go get some gifts for her sons in space.
Maybe, yeah.
Also, I think part of it is that the show for a long time had portrayed Della as kind of this carefree person who because of her carefreeness is why she went on this mission. But that contradicts with the whole motherliness that's being tried to be portrayed here. And you could try to pass it off as like a twist sort of thing, but because the motherliness is such a cliche, so it doesn't pay off in that respect. And partly because Della has been such a mystery for a long time, that now finally seeing her like this is not exactly as impressive as if they had like tried to add some extra stuff going on with her character.
I still think maybe Dewey left her a note and she read it and she went through it because she could not mess with the timeline.
Maybe.
Well, Last Christmas messes everything up. This also relates back to the main conflict of this episode, which is that the Moonmite, this large green monster, is messing with her ship every time she tries to reconstruct it or tries to do an escape attempt. And this is important because it connects back to Della's character in that at the very end, it's revealed that the reason the monster is attacking Della's stuff for 10 years is to feed its baby. And Della comes to like a revelation. It's like, wait, it's not a monster, it's a mother. And
10 years? Man, that's much a slow-growing baby.
Well,
That's true. That's true. It is a slow-growing baby.
Alien babies, alien beings, like they could live to be 400 years old. I don't really mind that like it's a baby for 10 years, but it's more of just the massive hammer to the massive nail of like, okay, here's where it turns. This is where they realize they're both the same. They're both loving mothers.
Come on, I knew this.
Sympathize. Like it feels so cheesy.
Yeah. I knew it was going to happen like in the first act before the first commercial break. I kind of knew that's where they were going. It's so predictable.
Because she stares at that photo of the kids as eggs like 10 million times in the episode. So many times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there is where also the lullaby is performed. This is what Steve was alluding to with this being the moon theme from the DuckTales video game of the 1980s. Now it finally has lyrics, which is just, Della's song to her kids. I think it's actually a nice song, but like it adds to the whole like what's another word for cheesiness? There's gotta be like a synonym, but like I don't know.
Cringe.
Cringe is maybe a little strong, but like I guess. Did you feel cringe?
Yes.
Personally, I prefer when she was humming like bum bum bum.
That would have been pretty cool.
In the action sequence.
Yeah.
That was cool.
We can get to the comedic beats. Yeah. I will say one part, I think the closest this story, this part of her gets to working is when we get to the point where she's celebrating their first birthday, and you get like the sad sequence of her with the moon cake, and she's like singing the happy birthday song, it's falling apart, she can't blow out the candle right. And her, I think at this point, like, her hair is also really long. So I think that's the closest it gets to at least Della feeling a little bit, I guess in a state of hopelessness, which I think that this needed more of for us to buy that Della is actually, like, desperate to get to her kids.
Let's remember, though, from the previous episode, the Christmas episode, it's kind of hinted that Della lost her parents at a very young age, so she never experienced any kind of parental relationship, and this was going to be her chance to experience that, and then she blew it. She's denied it for like 10 years.
Oh, that is really tragic if that's true. Yeah.
But like we needed more of that. We needed that.
Yeah, we needed that to be said, because what ended up happening is just like, and I think Alex, you kind of put into words earlier, I think what my like deeper issue with this is, because the Della we hear about is a very carefree, like courageous, go after the adventure and grab it by the horns kind of person, and all those are fairly, I mean, they're considered more masculine traits, and that's why it was so nice to know that their mom was like that. And the Della we kind of get, like, she's still like got that spirit, and like has the street smarts of like making her own leg and ship and stuff, but like when her only objective is kind of tunnel vision in on like her children, when she went on the mission anyway, so her children, it feels like, I don't know, especially when she's like doing that last fight with the Moon Mite, and she's like, nothing's gonna stop me from getting to my boys this time. It's like, I've seen that so many times, like in shows where like the lady, like if she's a mom, she's only allowed to be physically capable or pose an actual threat when it's a very maternal kind of instinct thing. And I'm so like, Della doesn't need that. The Della we had the impression of could have done it anyway without being a mother. And it's not like motherhood's not important, but I don't want Della to just be a mom. I want her to be everything Shardy was and have the addition of being a mom. But I don't want that to consume her personality. That's, like, really terrifying to think it might. So that's, like, my biggest, like, repulsion from the whole thing. And it personally is kind of a repulsion. Because, like, that's, like, literally all you see all the time. Like, I don't want to see more of that. I want her to have the rest of her personality still. I don't think she should lose that identity just because she becomes a parent. I think it maybe it doesn't, pronounce itself the same way motherhood would, but she's also on the moon right now. She kind of has other immediate priorities. So I don't know. It just left a bad taste in my mouth. But I will say, her giving her golden tooth to the mom, Moon Mite, was, I think, a very selfless, kind gesture in of itself. If we take away the whole nonsense of that's not a monster, that's a mother.
Yeah. Well, to be fair though, it's hard to find adventure when you're stranded on on a place like the moon. You can't. Where's she gonna go? She's just stuck there.
Go to the dark side and find all those aliens, apparently.
Yeah, she didn't know. Who knew?
Also, like, her giving up the gold tooth, like, does it get undercut a little by the ending just being, hey, there's a civilization full of gold on the moon anyway?
It's a little weird.
I'm pretty sure though, this is all going to come into play to the season arc of Scrooge's bet with Glomgold. So
Glomgold's gonna lose his mind when he finds out about the moon gold.
And this is actually very similar to the old show. There's this arc. Scrooge and Glomgold made a bet, and Scrooge made sort of similar, like, sacrifice that Della made, like, gave something up, and looked like he was going to lose, and then he found some other fortune. So, similar thing happened here, so.
Well, speaking of the overall season, like, we get to this ending, and briefly, I guess, before we talk about that, like, there are the introduction of these two moon people, General Lunaris and Lieutenant Penumbra, and like they have some brief back and forth. I like Penumbra. She's got a good attitude, and Della is like, hey, we'll be best friends anyway, so let's just get it over with, sort of thing. But like, anyways,
again, that reminds me of Webby and Lena, like in Lena's introduction episode of.
Yeah, I can see that there being like a connection there.
Yeah.
But it ends with the general saying like she could be useful, and we just do a hard cut as she enters the civilization. So I guess the question is, are we gonna keep Della on the moon for a couple of episodes and wait till like the entire season plays out to get them connected, or like what's going on here?
I'm glad you mentioned General Lunas, because throughout the episode I thought he was. I was thinking he was a nice dude. He was nice until he said that one thing, she could be useful, and immediately I got red flags that this guy very shady. He's gonna be a villain, probably. I don't trust him, all because of that one sentence.
Okay, so you're already on it's a villain situation. Michelle, do you have any thoughts on where this is going?
I don't think we're gonna have a reunion until maybe mid-season. Yeah, because I think the aliens are gonna try to keep her there, especially the guy alien. When he said, "Whoa, we could have use for her," I feel like when she finds out that they're alive, that's gonna remotivate her to leave ASAP, and they're gonna try to keep her there because they're like, "Oh, well, like she defeated the Moon Mite, and she can do all these things, and she's like a resource for our colony," kind of situation. So she's gonna have to like get out of their clutches, probably.
And even if they're not like evil, like they have like sinister goals, at the very least there could be obstacles to getting Della back home. So
right, man, that just makes that just makes me think of like the brief moment where Della is like breaking down, and she finally is like, well, I'm not gonna ever be able to go home, and the general's like, well, you can make a new home. And I kind of wish we could explore that for a little bit, like Della maybe trying to let go and not being able to, maybe, but like it seems we're gonna skip straight to her finding out that that her kids are still out and doing things, and that like remotivates her. We're kind of skipping like the one point where I think it would be interesting to see Della's character go.
It's interesting if this took place like a few years ago, and then maybe Hugh and Dewey and Louie have like a half sibling they don't know about yet. It's kind of
yeah. So we've covered like the story beats of this, but like also like there are a lot of like good jokes in here, because for example we have the running gag of the Otzi Chew created by Gyro. Hot takes on cold foods: black licorice, yay or nay?
Nay. If you can breathe with it, I guess it's okay, but on its own, no, terrible.
But 10 years. How would you do?
I think you'd stop tasting it as black licorice after 10 years, honestly. It would just become the normal taste of your mouth all the time.
Yeah. Ugh. I never had black licorice, and this episode now make me want to try it.
Wow, you just said nay without even having tasted it. And that's impressive.
I don't like well, listen, I don't like stuff that's too like that type of stuff either. Like too hard candy's never been my thing. So
okay, so you're just like anti-gum then.
yeah.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Are we just gonna go back? Wait, we gotta mention one thing though before we get back to this. You guys
I'm at the beginning. Like,
no, you didn't mention it. But you didn't mention the idea of what you guys think of Della and Lieutenant Uranus. What's her name?
Lieutenant Penumbra. Well, are you gonna ship? Are you gonna ship them? Okay.
What do you guys think? Are you yay or nay on that? Because
I mean, I'm open to hearing it out, but
tell us.
I just like it. Yeah, she's first of all, Della always set the siege because she wants to be best friends with this girl. So I could see them like when we come back to Della that they are actually best friends or very close.
I've been thinking about this because I also think she's gonna have a conflict gang off the moon. I think the lady alien she wears her emotions up front on her sleeve. Like we know what she's about and who she does and doesn't trust. So I think she probably will come around to Della or could potentially help in her escape. But that guy, I feel like I have not seen his true inner thinkings yet. So I think he's going to be the one to turn on her, if anyone.
Yeah, me too. That's why I don't trust him, because he just seems too good to be true. He's too
exactly.
He's
too nice, too charming, Yeah,
at least the lieutenant, at least she pretty much she is upfront about how she feels and stuff. So I trust her. At the very least, she's not going to stab you in the back, because if you do anything, she'll shoot you to the face.
Of the various cracked ships you've brought up on this show, Steve, I think that this is actually one that has a decently strong foundation. So I'm proud of you. Thank you for bringing that up. We would have we might have gone this podcast without mentioning it, and you did us a service. So good job.
All right, thank you.
So we open with her recovering from the crash, and she's got her legs stuck under the ship, and so we skip to 2 months after crash, and she's got a robot leg, and she's like, so like,
great.
Lots of leg humor in this. Like she's seen several times, like tinkering with it and like getting raged over fixing it, but yeah, like losing a leg. We got a robot leg. This is more like a Star Wars thing where like everybody loses their arms and legs. So I don't know. I like robot legs.
Oh.
Yeah, same. I think it's cool.
Yeah. Have we met anyone on the show that lost like an arm? Have we met like a pirate that has like no legs or arms? I think remember that, like one of the Sky Pirates.
We did have a Pirates episode, but I can't. I
now I
tell
remember
you a single person. I
remember the girl, Meg. She had a wooden leg too.
All right. Well, she and Della can be friends later over their loss of limbs. So also, I guess we'll just mix in the other stuff, but like, this is a unique episode in DuckTales in that it doesn't have the normal opening sequence. Instead, like a couple minutes in, like once we're into 2 months after Crash is when we finally get the DuckTales logo over the earth, as she says, "I'm coming, boys." And so then just like haunting moon music.
Yeah.
So, interesting choice to make this like, but it makes sense given it is kind of like a standalone episode, not really having anything to do with our main crew.
And it gives more time for story.
I guess like 30 more seconds, but she talks about her trying to get off the planet. This is where the na 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 montage of like her jumping towards the earth and not working. And then later she discovers her Junior Woodchuck guide, which is the tip towards the nephews, right? She has her own guide.
Nice. Yeah, I was so disappointed with Junior Woodchuck. I was hoping it would be the Chickadees, which was like a Girl Scout group in the comics, and then it would then it be revealed that the Junior Woodchucks and Chickadees merged and became co-ed.
Yay!
Well, yeah. What if in this universe it was always co-ed? That's an ideal scenario, right? So.
Yeah, but still, as much nods to the old comics they can get, I would be appreciated. But I guess so.
So she writes a long message asking for help from Scrooge while also dissing the gum at the same time. But the moon monster corrodes that, so she has to do something smaller with just a $sign. And she's like, nailed it. So that's a good Scrooge joke here. Is there anything else that we have not mentioned?
I know one thing. Yeah. I remember at the very beginning you were like, why are there clouds in space? And that's still a good question. There should not be clouds over the Earth circling the moon.
Yeah, they call it cosmic storm, but like, but this version of cosmic storm is very liberal.
Yeah.
Did I actually say that out loud?
You did say that. I was like, yo, you're right though.
I'm just thinking though, the episode when we get Della back, probably if I was Disney, I would make it a TV movie, making it like an event, like a 1.5 hours or something like that. Like,
well, I will say something that like this episode in the way it's structured, it never really dragged necessarily. Like it did feel like it kept moving. So I think that giving it its own standalone worked fine enough. Personally, I don't know if you're saying that because you wanted more stuff or you felt that this.
No, I'm not talking about later on when our heroes get reunited with Della and we have this battle for Della, like we mentioned before. I think it should be like a movie, like not just like even more than the season 1 finale, like an actual movie.
Oh, okay. So you're just wishing for like a grand reunion sort of thing. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And so the Moonmite shows up. Oh, also there's this moment where the Moonmite shows up and just as a reconnaissance ship is passing by and their fight causes dust to come up and the ship person says, oh, that's just a meteorite, let's leave.
And that's mostly Della's fault that happened. She's lost her temper and she's the one covering like a bunch of all that dust. It really wasn't really the Moonmite's fault. Della is her own worst enemy sometimes, just like her brother can be.
Well, I mean, the Moonmite was going to, like, eat that $sign, and then there'd have been no signs, so, like, I wouldn't say it's totally her fault, but it's more of just, like, the ship being like, hey, there's a dust up. Oh, well, there's no life. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And also, like, the moon is so close. Would that have really been the only ship to ever get to the moon to check?
Yeah, you'd think he would have sent out a lot. I mean, he has a lot of money, and he really likes Della.
Well, that episode with the sun chaser, like the flashback shows that he did send a bunch of ships up into space. So like, it's just a wonder why that was the only ship that like checked the moon.
Are you implying, Michelle, though, if it was Donald, he would put a little less effort?
Yes, exactly.
Definitely, if it was Gyro, even less effort.
Let's see here. So they eventually get taken down underground to fight with the Moonmite. She activates her Donald Rage several times down there. She ends up giving the golden guns of the moon people away, and Penumbra's like, "Boo! You disappoint me in every way possible."
That was pretty good.
That was a good line. It was a good line. And finally, the civilization on the moon is named Tranquility because, you know, the Sea of Tranquility is a part of the moon, so cool beans. Yeah, so I think, anything else from this episode that stood out to you guys? Anything major we haven't touched on?
Can't really think of any at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think in summary, like there's a lot of fun moments here. So some of us may have enjoyed it a lot more than others. There's some thematic stuff in here that maybe could have been handled a little bit more uniquely, but still, I think at the end of the day, like it sets us up for perhaps more interesting Della stuff in the future, and seeing eventually if they'll reunite with the main cast. Who knows when that will happen, since our next episodes are not for a couple months.
Yeah.
Who knows how long the season goes on. But yeah, anybody else has any final thoughts before we begin signing off here?
I'm excited for more moon adventures with alien people. I hope Della has lots of fun side plots that aren't just her obsessively worrying about her boys and just like having adventures on the moon.
Della and Penumbra team up episode.
Yes.
I can't wait to see that. Yeah, like I said, I predict they will become best friends. And even though Penumbra doesn't like Della when they first met at the moment, remember, like, when Lena first met Webby, she had antagonistic goals towards Webby. So, like I said, it mirrors it.
What if Lena's on the moon? Maybe that's why she hasn't showed up in so long.
Lena. Yeah, bring all the good girls back.
Yeah, but until May, when we see our good girls again, you can watch other shows we cover here at Overly Animated. You can find out the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord if you want to chat with us about DuckTales or any of the other animated shows we cover at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us financially via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all of our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, Britt, aka Opal. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, John, Ryan, Steve, and Hugh. Besides DuckTales, in the meantime, while we handle this hiatus, we also have Craig of the Creek going on. We've got Miraculous Ladybug.
DC Superhero Girls.
DC Superhero Girls. We got Genlock recently wrapped up, another space show.
Another David Tennant show, too.
So there's a lot of other shows to cover. Disney is actually Disney has Star vs. the Force of Evil, which is going on right now. That's the major show that they are focusing on in this month. So definitely keep an eye out for our coverage of those episodes as we go through this month. And but until May, when we get more DuckTales to watch and review, we will talk to you later, and we'll see you soon. Adios.
Bye.